Here. Our report from closed session for all three items, A, B, and C. Information was shared. There were no decisions made regarding anything. Our interpreters this evening are Cesar Ruiz and Susana Pineda. And our greeters are Benji Alfaro and Nashali Santiago. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And item D, are you speaking to that? P to the district or John?
That'd be John Collins. But I can go ahead and introduce our board member Hollins Head. We have today, this evening, after a long pause, the key to the district for Santa Maria Bonita School District. And the key to the district is a recipient or an award that we provide to a community member or a teacher or a staff member that really reflects the beliefs of our school district, who's been a contributor to Santa Maria Bonita School District and their success. And so today we have John Hollinshead, board member, to present Key to the District.
Good evening. Pardon me, but I'm going to read some of this. As Dr. McDuffie said, you all know that this is an award that we really kind of treasure because it's a time for us to be able to honor folks that may be behind the scenes that you don't necessarily know about, that contribute really significantly to our whole community, not just our school community. And so in my early years of board membership, and my wife was also on the high school board, I frequently witnessed a parent who spoke respectfully, critically, and thoughtfully in a number of settings, both here and at the high school board meetings and elsewhere. He gave his name and thanks in Spanish each time he engaged, and after a few instances, it became clear that this deliberate, intentional advocate was a unifier, a team builder, and a leader. Both in Mexico and Guerrero and Baja, and in California, Mr. Lozano has encountered barriers to his Mixtec language and to his culture. And rather than recede and exist in parallel and accept disadvantages and prejudice, he has chosen to educate himself in a second language, Spanish, and in process. So the things that are necessary to access systems. In creating his pathway to community, he learned valuable lessons. And he shared his knowledge and his experiences as a Mixtec person in order to facilitate communication, provide services, and promote pride in his Mixtec community. From the beginnings of advocating with the Indigenous Front in 2003, his sixth grade son, who wanted to play soccer at one of our campuses, his participation on site council, and to promoting Mixteco interpreters, and an unrelenting number of reminders of multilingual and Mixteco advocacy, Mr. Lozano has been an exemplary leader. He looks to recruit and train emerging leaders now and to create an intergenerational Mixteco advisory committee. So as a leader, he wishes to build teams that continue the trajectory that he has already set and established in this community. Mr. Lozano, through his words and actions in life, sets an example for anyone, Mixteco, Latino, or otherwise, about modeling the ideals we all espouse and living them in truth. So it's quite my honor to present the key to the district this evening to Francisco Lozano. He's got you.
Okay. Buenas noches, miembros de las mesas directivas, a todos los que se encuentran esta noche, familias, padres, amigos. De verdad, pues siento que no merezco esto porque hay líderes más grandes que han entregado su vida, su tiempo para nuestra comunidad, pero como ellos dicen, eligen maestros que han entregado su vida a la escuela por nuestros hijos, ¿verdad? Pero gracias a cada uno de ustedes, gracias también a la doctora Tami Castillo, porque si yo lo hiciera solo esto, no lo podía hacer. Siempre necesitamos el apoyo de cada uno para poder hacer los cambios que se requiere hacer. En especial mi esposa no sabe leer, no sabe escribir y siempre me dice otra vez a las juntas y otra vez a las juntas, como que ya me enfadó, pero ya me aguantó mucho. Pero una de las cosas que también me gusta de ella también está bien, yo sé que está haciendo algo bueno. Si tú estuvieras haciendo ir con amigos, las borracheras o otras cosas que no es beneficio ni para ti ni para la comunidad, eso no está bien, pero lo que está haciendo, eso es bueno. Entonces, pues a mis hijos, de verdad que el tiempo que he dedicado para apoyar a la comunidad, de verdad que le he quitado. Mm.
Shavyun.
Eh,
Good evening, board members and all in attendance, friends, family. Honestly, I don't deserve this, as I know there's other leaders who give time, effort, and yeah, I'm here. I know there's teachers that give their life for this. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you especially to Dr. Tammy Castillo, because I cannot do this alone. We have to support each other. I also want to especially thank my wife. My wife can't write or read, and she's always telling me, again, you're going to another meeting. I know she gets tired of it, but what I love about her is that she understands where I'm going. She understands I have a purpose. She realizes and mentions, well, at least you're not going with some bad friends, getting drunk. It's good. You're doing a good thing.
Sí, ya se me olvidó ahí, pero está bien. Bueno, entonces, y pues sí, como le digo, también quiero agradecer también a las madres también mixtecas que han iniciado también conmigo en esto. Yo sé que ha dejado sus familias. Hay mamás solteras que pues se van a trabajar, llegan, vienen las juntas y también lo que me da mucho orgullo a mí es, señor Lozano, mi hija ya se fue a la universidad. Y eso es el reconocimiento más grande que siento que estamos reconociendo por el trabajo que estamos haciendo, porque no es pérdida de tiempo, es inversión de tiempo. Si cada padre hicieran esos, yo creo que vamos a ver cambios diferentes. Ya no le vamos a dar tanto trabajo al señor comandante Lara, porque él siempre dice, los niños salen de la escuela, las pandillas y todo eso, y yo creo que esa es la importancia, porque mi meta, mi visión es, yo quisiera que todos los padres se involucren con sus hijos, porque hay muchísimas más posibilidad que sus hijos tengan éxito académico. No van a ser millonarios, pero van a tener una vida estable. Y eso es lo que yo miro, es lo que yo siento, porque tener estudio es tener oportunidad.
I also want to thank our mixed tech mothers who have joined with me. Those who are single moms, they come with me to our meetings, and yet they've already worked the whole day. They go do their items at home as a mom, but yet they come to the meetings. And honestly, I think one of my biggest achievements is my son and daughter. Both are at a university. I honestly want to be somebody who to motivate other parents to do this because as parents, we can cause a change. By doing this change, then we give less work to Chief Lara. My vision is that all parents are to engage because the possibilities of success are higher. It's not about money, but to be stable and to be happy. To study is opportunities.
Así es que el reconocimiento lo va a tomar con mucho aprecio. Me acuerdo cuando habíamos iniciado el 2023 de plan estratégico, cuando fui parte de esos, y de verdad, hablando de la comunidad mixtecas, cómo hay tantas cosas que saber y desconocemos el punto, porque las escuelas fueron creadas por ciertos estudiantes. Entonces, hay muchos salones de trailas móviles, ¿verdad? Entonces dije, los niños a veces no tienen un ambiente adecuado, pero pues no es culpa de uno porque la población está creciendo, pero también no hay un ambiente saludable, también digamos como sombra y todo, pero vemos que toda nuestra escuela, nuestra ciudad de Santa María, se mira bien bonitos. Se mira bien bonito. Y eso es lo que queremos para nuestros hijos, abogar como padres, dar ideas, dar aporte. Si no se puede, de todas maneras, pues estamos aportando algo. Estamos haciendo como un colaboradores con el distrito, con las escuelas, y juntos vamos a hacer ese trabajo, juntos vamos a hacer el cambio. Así es que gracias, muchísimas gracias por no sé, pero no tengo palabras a explicar por eso, porque siento que el reconocimiento es grande para mí, pero gracias, porque mi primer lenguaje es en mixteco, nomás aprendí a hablar español a los 16 años y con esos, pues estoy abogando por la comunidad mixteco. No sé, pero tengo un amor, un pasión sobre la comunidad, por los hijos más importantes, porque son los que futuro para este país.
Honestly, I do appreciate this award that I'm getting. I mean, one of the items that are deep in my heart is the strategic plan that started in 2023. Being able to speak about my culture to all these people, there's so much to know, and yet so little is known. When these schools were first created, it was created with a specific type of student. And now our population has grown. We have such beautiful buildings compared to other areas. That's why it's important to keep with this plan, supporting our parents, and our parents will also show their support. Together, we can create change. There's no words that I can use or say about this award. Honestly, it reaches my heart. I only learned Spanish at 16 years old, but I love to speak and talk about my culture and our sons.
Así es que gracias, muchísimas gracias. Gracias, señora Laguanta. Desde hace mucho tiempo que hemos conocido en este camino. Pues nomás nos saludamos hola porque ni usted habla ni usted habla español, puro inglés, yo mixteco y español, nomás hola y ya nomás, hasta ahí. Pero somos fuertes, ¿verdad? Gracias.
¿Cómo dice gracias en mixteco?
Shindavi, Mino. Gracias también al comandante Lara por tomar su tiempo de estar hoy. También tiempo los hemos conocido, pero él trabaja más fuerte allá en la calle por la seguridad de nuestra comunidad, pero gracias por estar aquí. Gracias a cada uno de ustedes, directores de ELCA, de servicios, o sea, a todos, de verdad. Me siento un gran aprecio por todos ustedes porque yo sé que todos ustedes están trabajando por nuestros hijos. Así es que, pues para mí yo creo que ese no sería un final, sino que sería un nuevo comienzo otra vez, porque así me fueron reconocieron en 2016 Legados Latinos. Pensé que era un final, pero fue un comienzo para apoyar más a la comunidad. Y esperemos que pues Dios estar en buen salud para poder hacer los cambios por nuestra comunidad. Así es que muchísimas gracias a cada uno. Estoy de miembro de la mesa directiva, el señor Lara, Valencia, María, Linda Cordero. No puedo pronunciar el nombre del superintendente, pero mi aprecio también hacia él porque llegó y hemos mirado muchos cambios en la escuela. Gracias a cada uno. Shindavi Nindo, Dikwindo. Ah, Shindavi Nindo Shanya yo.
I want
So we mess we went into 3 minutes.
I want to thank Loanda for what she's done. Honestly, all we say is hola in Spanish. I speak Spanish, she speaks English. We don't meet each other in the middle, but we say hola. But I know we have a strong relationship and we work together, so thank you. I want to thank Chief Lara for making time. I know you're supposed to be out in the streets, but I do appreciate your time for coming over here. Thank you to all the directors, LCAP, all service directors. Thank you. You're appreciated, all of you. You work for our kids. I thought in 2016, when certain things happened, there was an end to our community and our culture, but there is no end. This is only the beginning of support to our community. I can't say everybody's name, especially Dr. McDuffie's pronounce it, but I do appreciate the changes that have come. So thank you again. Tisha B'Yum.
Uh, Before we take picture, I just wanted to share briefly that I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. Lozano for many years at Santa Maria High School, and also, within my capacity as a teacher, and also my capacity as a board member. And his relentlessness at advocating for our young people, ensuring that we are centering our indigenous families, who are often our most overlooked families, is essential, and it makes our institution better to ensure that we are not overlooking our indigenous families and the hardships that they endure. And so, Mr. Lozano, I want to thank you because I know it requires a lot of sacrifice on your part, time away from your family, and you do it with so much corazón, with so much heart, and you give so much. And this is the least that we could give you, is the recognition. Mr. Lozano is not just recognized by us, he was recognized as North County Leader of the Year by Future Leaders of America as well. And I think it's essential that we give people their flowers while they're alive and not when they're passed away. And so I want to thank la familia. Quiero agradecerles a ustedes por sus sacrificios en prestarnos al señor Lozano, porque somos una mejor comunidad porque él está aquí con nosotros. So thank you to the family for your sacrifices. Our school district is better because you are so generous of giving Mr. Lozano and his time for us. So thank you so much, Mr. Lozano. I really appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hollinshead. Moving into public comment, do we have any comments on agenda items,
No, we do not.
non-agenda items?
No, we do not.
All right, approval of agenda as presented.
So moved.
I'd like to pull a couple of items from the agenda. Item C2 and 3.
Item,
In consent, I believe
That's right.
Let's see.
you're correct. Okay, the two items that he is asking to be pulled are first readings for two new job descriptions, the library stock clerk and the community school specialist. They're not quite ready for the first reading. So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented, as modified?
Move to preserve, move to approve is it consent? Or that?
Overall agenda.
Move the all agenda as amended.
I'll second.
It has been moved by Mr. Hollinshead, seconded by Mr. Lara to approve the agenda as amended. Moving to item 10, consent items. All in favor? Skip that part. Roll call.
Mr. Valencia,
Aye.
Mr. Hollinshead,
Aye.
Mr. Lara, Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero.
Aye. Moving to item 10, consent items. I guess my question here, since we've already amended the agenda, we don't need to amend the consent agenda as well.
No.
Okay. So I'm looking for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I'll second.
It has been moved by Mr. Valencia, seconded by Ms. Cabral to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call,
Aye.
please.
Mr. Valencia,
Aye.
Mr. Hollinshead,
Aye.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero.
Aye. We get to do a lot of ayes tonight. Item 11, action items. Resolution 25-05, approving the absences of board members from meetings of the Board of Education. Dr. McDuffie?
Thank you, President Cordero. The attached resolution must be adopted in order to compensate board members for absences from board meetings to perform services outside the meeting for the district if the board member was ill or on jury duty, or the absence was due to a hardship deemed acceptable by the board.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
I go ahead and move that the Board of Education adopt Resolution 2505, approving the absence of board members for a meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
Second.
It has been moved by Ms. Cabral, seconded by Mr. Hollinshead to adopt Resolution 25-05, approving the absences of board members from meetings of the Board of Education. Roll call, please.
Mr. Valencia,
Aye.
Mr. Hollinshead,
Aye.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero.
Aye. Item 12A, 2025 CASP and LPAC data. Mrs. Grock.
Good evening, board members, cabinet,
and audience. It is a pleasure to bring forward to you the newly released data for our 2025 CASP and LPAC testing. So why do these test results matter? Assessment results help us understand growth, challenges, and alignment with our mission. The state uses these scores as a tool for accountability and improvement at the system level. Scores are used by colleges for course placement and college readiness. Scores inform parents and educators about students' strengths and areas of improvement. And scores are an essential component of reclassification as fluent English proficient for our English language learners. This is the visual of our performance in 2025 in ELA and math. So as you know, the goal is for students to score an overall level 3 or 4, representing meeting or exceeding standards. In English language arts, 24.78% of our students met or exceeded the standard, and in math, 17.66% met or exceeded the standard. If we break it down by grade level, this is the performance bands with the band at the bottom in orange being level 1, yellow level 2, green level 3, and blue level 4. Overall, our highest proficiency, levels 3 and 4, was in 7th grade, with 28.31% of our students meeting that standard. And our lowest proficiency, or level 1, was in 3rd and 4th grade at 54.37% each. In math, our highest proficiency was in 3rd grade with 25.51%, and our lowest proficiency was in 8th grade at 68.89%. The goal, of course, is for students to achieve a level 3 or 4. So this shows us our 4-year trend line with what we want is to have all students in the level 3 or 4, which are the 2 clusters of bars on the left, representing meeting or exceeding standard. As you can see, over the last 4 years, our achievement has been stagnant, and we have not significantly improved our percent of students achieving this goal. We know that improving this trend requires focused, coherent efforts, and that is the work of the district through everything that we do, including the Bright Futures Project 5-year plan. And now to discuss some of the actions that we're taking in an effort to change this trend line, I would like to welcome to the podium Dr. Salcido, the Director of Teaching and Learning Core. Before I do that, do you have any questions about the data itself? All right, please welcome Dr. Salcido.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. So as you look at how we are supporting ELA growth across the district, I'd like to highlight a few current things. We have been engaging in the last few years on science of reading training with letters. Science of reading is a research-based method of how students learn to read. So our teachers have been learning effective reading instruction and how that must include explicit, systematic, and focused on foundational skills, including phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. We have had 272 teachers complete their second year of training in June of 2025. And we have 180 teachers currently working on completing their second year of training. When teachers are trained in these evidence-based practices, they're better able to identify areas of struggles for students, provide targeted supports in those areas, and prevent reading difficulties before they widen later into achievement gaps. We've also been working on professional learning communities with our VAPA team support. We have been training, implementing, and coaching along the way in PLC practices. We have engaged in site and grade level goals focused around literacy. Our work in PLCs has been towards building effective structures and strong PLC, creating space for teachers to collaborate around student data. Teachers analyze student work to identify those learning gaps. They adjust their instruction and share strategies that are working. In PLCs, teachers are also focused on learning, not just on teaching. The focus is on what students are expected to learn. How will teachers know when those students have learned it, and what supports can be provided when students haven't learned it. These are timely interventions because they get to meet weekly in their PLCs. And so that weekly meeting gets to quickly identify struggling students and develop targeted supports for them. It also gives the opportunity for our teachers to share their own expertise with each other. Educators are the expert, and they learn from one another, and they're able to share effective strategies. We also are engaging this work this year in curriculum alignment work, both in ELA and math. Focus of our curriculum alignment work is to set grade level expectations and align with state standards in assessment. We are really ensuring that there's a teacher voice because they have the expertise in their practice. They know their students best. They bring that daily classroom experience into the process. And curriculum alignment is really about setting realistic, meaningful, and responsive to student needs. The teacher voice in the curriculum alignment process also is going to give some ownership and buy-in to the process, because when teachers lead the work, they're more invested in the outcome. It's also going to increase our commitment to implementing the aligned curriculum with fidelity. Our curriculum alignment work is also going to allow us to provide consistency across all classrooms in the district, aligning that curriculum and instruction and assessments so that all students have access to high quality learning and experiences. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Grock to talk about math. We'll pause for a minute for any ELA questions, and then we'll talk about math in just a minute, but sure.
I have one question.
Sure.
And I probably should know this, but the teachers that are participating in the letters training are from only primary grades?
This is correct. It is an elementary focus. It is in early literacy. Our elementaries all had an opportunity to participate. We had focus letters sites, which were our literacy grant recipients. Those 10 sites made a site commitment to training for letters. Outside of that, we ran several district cohorts and offered it to any teacher who wanted to participate. We just signed up our third cohort and were able to serve everyone who was interested.
So any grade level in elementary?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
My question is, what feedback have we received from teachers thus far regarding the science of reading, the professional learning communities, the curriculum alignment? What's been their feedback so far on how effectively, this has been helping them or not?
Sure. I'll take them one at a time. So in the science of reading, really the feedback, there are different lessons along the way. So when teachers learn a particular, from a session, a particular skill, most are saying, like, that makes sense. It's exactly what I've been teaching with a slight twist. It's not throwing out everything we've ever done. It is, how do we hone in what we've done to make sure that our teaching and literacy is focused and intentional. It gives us kind of a little bit more of the how kids learn to make it a little bit more meaningful. So there's been some positives on that. It is a huge time commitment. So on the opposite side of that, although it's really great learning, it's a significant commitment. In the first year of training, I want to say it's about 65 hours, and in the second year of training, it's about 45. So dedicating that amount of time took commitment on our teachers' parts. And those who finished the program are doing fantastic, but it was a true commitment. And in regards to professional learning communities, we have our schools at varying levels. Those schools who are in year 3 are seeing fantastic results. It's very teacher-owned, driven conversations. Those who are in their very first year, it's hard, it's new. There's a lot of wonderings, there's still a lot of learnings. And so it really depends on where they are in that trajectory of learning, what that feedback is. We continue to empower our teachers to own that process. PLCs is not something that's done to them, but it's a structured way to have those conversations. And so really trying to continue to build that. We're trying to allow space for that. And then curriculum alignment work is just barely starting, so there's not a lot of feedback on that just yet. We're actually tomorrow afternoon engaging in our first learning session called Blueprints. Then we'll have a second learning session, item specifications. Then we'll start meeting by grade levels to develop our matrix and our assessments. So it's a lot of work coming this year, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just really briefly, and just for clarification on what Mr. Valencia asked, when you're talking about teachers being in different years of PLCs, are you referring to Westhead?
Yeah, so Wested is the partner who is coaching to
Right.
lead our PLCs. And some are in their very first year and some are in their third year.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I know that we've had schools using letters and the science of reading for significantly longer than others. Was any of the, what we saw here was gross data? Has there been any kind of disaggregation or separating out of, or indication that the sites that have been working with it longer are having, say, more success with their second, first, third graders or whomever has been involved in that, or the school has?
So all of our executive summaries include the disaggregation of both West Ed sites and Letters sites. So if you go back to the Friday board packet to those executive summaries, you can see that data compared to last year for LPAC and SBAC. The difficulty is that the reason that they were chosen as literacy sites and given the literacy grant in the last 2 years is because they were the furthest from standard. So they are still performing at a lower rate than non-letter schools or non-West Ed schools, but we expect to see that gap continue to close over time.
Well, we would hope then we would see greater trajectory then and larger gains.
Correct, but we're looking at the gap between
Right.
proficiency, and so it's not a huge gap. District-wide letter sites versus non-letter sites, it's not a significant gap, but they do still perform lower than non-letter sites at this time.
Okay, and the reason I asked is because I know when I was on Mrs. Hamilton's site a few years ago, and she was one of the first sites to start that, I wasn't aware of maybe then what the level of her site was to begin with.
Mhm.
So you're saying that that's kind of impactful on how we would check that disaggregation out?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah. Because in order to qualify for that grant that paid for letters and West Ed, we entered into this work through the literacy grant, and the schools that were chosen were the ones across the state who were furthest from standard. So they started lower and now they're catching up.
Thank you.
I'd also add to that as well that we have local measures that we're watching growth, and we are seeing good growth at letter sites. Also know that the science of reading is really impactful in the youngest grades. So our CASP data starts at third grade. So our students who have been impacted in the low grades with letters because it was the last 2 years are still not in testing range. So things will take time. I'm hopeful that it will continue to have a positive trajectory as those who experienced science of reading instructional strategies in kinder then bump up to first. And so we're going to see that trajectory go. But the hope would be that like you said, you're going to see a positive trajectory as we progress over the years.
Thank you, Dr. Salcido. The 4-year trend for math achievement is similar to ELA with slightly lower overall levels of achievement in this subject. You do see the green line, which is this year on the far right, which is level 1, did get lower, which means we moved more students towards proficiency. So some moderate gains in the math area. Again, the goal is for students to achieve a level 3 or 4, which are the 2 clusters of bars on the left representing meeting or exceeding standards. And now I'm going to ask Dr. Salcido to return to talk about the actions SMB is taking specific to math instruction.
Okay, so we did decide as a district to adopt early outside of the state cycle. 2 years ago, we adopted new curriculum in iReady and mid-school math. This is the start of our 3rd year of this newly adopted curriculum, so we're still pretty fresh in this new curriculum. We are this year, the state of California is transitioning to the new California framework for math standards. And so school districts are being required to adopt new curriculum that is approved by the state. So we will be transitioning to our new California editions of both iReady and mid-school math. We're not switching curriculums. This year, our upper grades chose to go ahead and use the California edition this year for mid-school math. And next year, we'll be transitioning into iReady. We are really focused on growth in math. And so with lower proficiency scores, we do want to focus on students growing more than a year in a year's time. And so we really are working in iReady with our students, 5th grade and below, to set growth goals in iReady, and then empowering students to track their own growth goals and celebrating when that happens. We do intentionally in Teaching and Learning Core celebrate both mid-year and end-of-year students with the highest growth goals. There are 2 types of growth that we track in iReady. One is annual typical growth. So a student should grow academically a year within a year's time. But like I said, we want our students to grow more than that in a year. So at the mid-year mark, we did celebrate those students, the classes with the highest percentage of students who had already met their annual typical growth by the middle of the year. That's the kind of trajectory that we want to see in order for us to increase our proficiency. We also have something called a stretch goal in math. And so students are given a goal based on where they are at the beginning of the year, what will accelerate their learning to get them caught up over the next 2 to 3 years to on grade level. And each stretch goal is personalized to students, and we celebrate those as well. So later in the presentation, you'll see a few pictures of the celebrations as we go around to schools and celebrate classes and the growth that they've made. But it's focusing the conversation with students around their own growth and celebrating where they're achieving to. With that, I will take some questions. Yep. Questions on math? Again, curriculum alignment also applies to math as well. I spoke about it in English, but it also is in math.
Yeah. In regards to the new state framework for math and switching to the California editions, does that mean we have to pilot and go through the adoption process again, or will it automatically go to the new edition?
It'll automatically go to the new edition. So when we adopted 2 years ago, it was with the agreement that we would be adopting the new California edition when it was available. And the state is requiring districts to do that. So we must make the shift. The new California framework basically reorders the standards. And instead of just making them in a number order, it links them into big ideas. So there are categories of big ideas that these math standards fall into. It's supposed to be a more systematic way to look at math in life and math as a whole, to learn it that way. So the new California edition books are all framed in that same way. So they will be clumping together the standards based on big ideas. If you remember last year, we had some of our students participate in the mid-school math filming of the Big Ideas film series, and we had the trailer that we showed for all of you. That was in development of the California edition of the mid-school math, and that's how the standards are going to relate to the math learning.
And when will these new editions be available?
So they're already available. The grades 6, 7, and 8 teachers chose to go ahead and start using the California edition this year, so it's already in classrooms. For grades 5th and below, we will do that next fall.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Is there additional components to the presentation or?
There is. This is just ELA and math. I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Grock for more data.
Thank you, Dr. Salcido. Okay, the final piece of assessment for discussion tonight is the LPAC scores for our students. These scores represent the distribution of our English learners on the summative LPAC exam. Remember that once students achieve a level 4, they are eligible for reclassification as fluent English proficient. And once they are officially RFEP'd, they do not take the LPAC exam again. So these scores are representative of our English learners, but not our ever ELs. The difference between this pie graph and the ELA and math is that in ELA and math, a level 3 or 4 is considered proficient. It's meeting standards or exceeding standards. But on the LPAC, a level 4 is meeting standards. So when we consider the proficient quotient, we are only looking at level 4. The 9.5% represents just the level 4 because that is what the state has decided is required for fluent English proficient redesignation. This is the 4-year trend, and it is similar to those that we have viewed for ELA and math. Again, the significant difference is that while ELA and math recognize a level 3 or 4 as proficient, so the bars, the two sets of bars on the left-hand side of the screen, the LPAC only recognizes a level 4 overall or well-developed as proficient, since that is the requirement for redesignation. And now I would like to welcome to the lectern Dr. Castillo-Schiffer, the Director of Multilingual Services Area, to share with you the actions that SMBSD is working on with regard to our emerging multilingual learners.
Would you move it back to and leave that for just a moment? Please?
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I should have paused. Do you have any questions about the data?
No, I just wanted to write it down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And now please welcome Dr. Castillo-Schiffer.
Good evening, Board. I'm here to talk to you about how we are supporting the language acquisition of our students. Here, as you may know, the multilingual services area has only been in existence for about a year, and our focus has been on examining our systems and determining where our high leverage action points will be. And so here are some of the actions that we are taking. We have updated the designated ELD pacing guide for K through 5, and the intention is to focus on language production. We know that receptive language is one part, so the listening and reading, but where our students will really make greater gains is when they begin to produce the language. So they're trying out the forms of the words, and they're able to eventually perfect their language by using it. This is our main focus is based on the ELD standards, where we will be having our students interact with the language in meaningful ways. And that's more than just turn and talk to your neighbor. That is stating opinions, justifying those opinions. It's writing, and it's producing things that are evaluative and analyze the text that's put before them. We are working on an LPAC scope and sequence guide. This is, I should say, this has been completed for all grade levels. We know that when students are familiar with the type of tasks that are placed before them in the LPAC, they will perform better. So if they get to practice a little ahead of time, then they're more familiar with the types of questions that are asked of them. We're working hard with professional development, so not only on our early release Thursdays, but also our Saturdays that we have teachers come, and they often bring their bilingual instructional aides to engage in the learning with them. This is focused on designated ELD grouping. This is one of those times in the day, that protected time where our students are focused on their language development, and they are grouped by ability levels, where the rest of the day they are with their peers. We're focused on designated ELD instruction strategies and routines. We're also focused on LPAC and interim LPAC. Again, we know that if our teachers are aware of how their will be engaged on an exam, that those students will do better. The multilingual services area is also looking at our newcomer programs. So in refining what we have and aligning systems across school sites. We are working with Ms. Grock's team for a Spanish language after-school program so that our students have the ability to preserve their home language. And we know that the skills that that they know in their home language also transfer to English acquisition as well. Enrichment opportunities for our long-term English learners. The picture there is of some of our students. At El Camino, we had the opportunity to partner with Cal Poly San Luis Obispo to have some of their students come and work with our students. It gave our students the ability to work with people like them who are in college, and so that they can begin to see themselves in different ways. And it was a very wonderful experience for both the students who would like to become teachers, those at Cal Poly, and then our own students. And then we have expanded support and training for our ELD coaches. Our ELD coaches are at all of the school sites, and they're a direct link to our teachers and again to our students. So the better we are supporting them, that will trickle down to the classroom. And we also know that education is a family endeavor, and we have done our best to engage our families and the community in supporting the language acquisition of their students. So we have a new and exciting LPAC parent video series, and there are QR codes right there on that slide, and we have them in Spanish and we have them in English, and we're working on Mixteco voiceovers. The goal of these videos is to introduce parents to the idea of what reclassification is, why it's important, why it should be a goal. And then we take parents through the LPAC. We talk about task types and in a way that is engaging to parents. So how can you support your child's speaking abilities? What are things that you can do at home? Or when you're out at the grocery store. So we include a description of what the students will encounter, what that task type is like, and then some suggestions for parents to implement at home to help support their child's learning. At the end of last year, we bought a spot on the radio, Radio Ranchito, and we're pretty excited about that. We're continuing to develop our programming. We have special guests who come and talk to for the half-hour radio program, and those topics include reclassification, engaging in parent-teacher conferences. What are questions you should ask? How should you support your child's learning at home? Some of my fellow directors have also been on the program to talk about special education, and we've received a lot of really positive feedback on this. The radio station has let us know that they receive the most calls on the days that our program airs. And so with those questions, we try to make this a two-way conversation. So in the following radio show the next week, we try to answer those questions to make it a little more of a dialogue and to let folks know that we're listening. And then, of course, we have parent meetings that are focused on reclassification. So we're looking at those students who are making that progress, and they're just right on the edge of that reclassification. And so having our parents understand what this test is and what it means and look at their own child's test score has been very meaningful for us. We're starting at the junior highs, and we're hoping to expand to the other sites earlier and earlier so that we have more parent involvement, because we know that when our parents encourage their children, that of course they do better. Do you have any questions for me?
Are we going to still have more presentations after Dr. Castillo?
Coming back. She's coming back.
Oh. Okay. So, one of the things that we've talked about recently is VAPA, and it was mentioned earlier this evening. And so what has been explained to us tonight sounds a lot like kind of traditional ways we're doing things, only maybe trying to do them more or with greater fidelity or longer hours or supporting our teacher. I mean, doing better at what we already do. So I guess my question is, there was one mention of VAPA, and one brief mention, I think, with some of our older kids about meeting with Cal Poly, or I think they were not older kids, but LTELs.
Long-term English learners, yes, those are junior high students.
So I guess my encouragement and question is around that same experiential learning for all our kids, and VAPA and what role those things play. Because I think, as you said, Dr. Castillo-Schiffer, just turning to Mr. Valencia and saying hi and speaking with them the same way I always do isn't necessarily the best way to continue to learn or to advance my learning a language. So I feel like if we put them in other situations where there's a call or demand for them to exchange ideas or learn something new, like something else experiential that we can expose them to, and certainly VAPA with drama, plays, those kinds of things, and art and what have you, and music. I feel like those are some of those things that we can try, because again, if we just keep doing the same things, only saying we're working harder, I think there's more out there. So I would just encourage us to kind of think a little bit differently and a little bit more outside of what we've done traditionally, because the things we've been shown tonight are all over the country, right? Everybody's lines look about the same. There's not a whole lot of people. LA Unified did pretty well this past year. So maybe there's something there. But I mean, by and large, we're not alone in this. And I think we're also not alone in how we're approaching it, or perhaps not thinking a little bit bigger, a little bit more outside the box, a little bit more creatively. So thank you for, it's all great stuff, but I'm just encouraging us to maybe look other places too.
So these are the things that we have completed. We have things in process. So our teacher on assignment for is it art that Kurt is? Our VAPA, Tosa and I met with Corazón del Pueblo, and we're working on the development of an after-school art, but that is very ingrained in culture and uses funds of knowledge that maybe we don't access during the regular day. And I agree, LAUSD did have a great year, and I've been in contact with them, looking at what those practices are. And really, a lot of this stuff, it may not sound like it's new. This is with the creation of the department, we have the ability to be intentional and to be focused and to create some alignment. So while we did have some bright spots here and there really wasn't a system that would allow equitable access to all of our students, but definitely open to new and exciting and wonderful things that we can do for our students. In addition, when I talked about our pacing guide, what we're really encouraging teachers to do is to use subject area content in English language development. So not just our adopted benchmark curriculum, but using science and math and music to develop those language skills as well, because those are high interest points. I was a science teacher, so we know that there's lots of interesting ways to use language when you're talking about scientific principles. Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Castillo-Schiffer. Our work in SMBSD focused on the Bright Futures Project is to ensure that every student, regardless of background or school site, has access to the high-quality, responsive education that they deserve. We must build a system where every student is seen, supported, and inspired in every classroom at every school. In order to support that work, we must look deeper into this and all data to ensure that our students' circumstances or demographics are not predetermining their chance at success. On the screen are our most significant student groups and how they perform compared to SMBSD as a whole. This is the percentage of students who scored a 3 or 4, met or exceeded standard, on the SBAC ELA test last spring. As you can see, some groups significantly outperform or underperform compared to our district trend. Dual immersion students significantly outperformed the whole. Additionally, our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, as determined by qualifying for the free and reduced lunch prices, also scored nearly equivalent to the SMBSD overall average, which is very encouraging. On the other end of achievement, our students with disabilities are the lowest performing students in SMBSD. This chart shows the same groups, but with the math scores instead of ELA. Again, the same trends exist, with DLI students outperforming, FERPL students nearly matching, and students with disabilities being our lowest performing. And now it is a pleasure to, I'll answer any questions that you might have about these subgroups, and then I'll be welcoming Mr. Armando Uribe, the Director of Special Education, to discuss some of the initiatives that his department is working toward to close these gaps. Are there any questions about the data?
Just a comment. You really wanted to say FERPL, didn't you?
I'm so sorry. Sorry. Free and reduced price lunches. I do. I like purple.
When it comes to the dual immersion students, we know from our families that that's a high priority. And so if we're having a lot of success with our dual immersion students in improving these scores, what are we doing to continue to expand our dual immersion programs?
Board Member Valencia, those are things that we've discussed in our task force, and we continue to expand our dual immersion. And hopefully by 2030, I believe our dual immersion program will be a full dual immersion program at
School-wide.
Jimenez.
School-wide.
School-wide, yes, thank you. And so we'll continue that that trend as we see that definitely is something that our community wants and we want to provide.
Yeah, thank you. And the other reason why I bring it up is that, we're seeing success with it. We know it's something that a lot of our families really value, and they've come to us at these board meetings expressing frustration, right? That it's only available right now at Jimenez. And so I want to continue just to remind our district, right, that that's a high priority item for our community. And that the results are showing that, right? That we have plenty of good research to show why we should be doing that.
I'd like to address that a little bit because I believe the dual immersion program has been exceptionally successful because we went into it with a plan. And the plan was a third non-English, a third kids that could speak some of each language, and a third English speakers. I question whether expanding the dual immersion program without that balance, we will not see the same results.
And then I appreciate that perspective because I want to make sure that our programs are successful. I do believe it's important to, do things gradually when necessary, but also just, remind, like as a representative, right, of the community, our community is telling us, make this a priority and continue to grow. But unfortunately, right now, we only have it at one site. And so we're limiting access to many of our families. So I just want to continue to put that on the attention of our staff, just to remind folks that this is what I'm hearing, right, as an elected official. These conversations might not always reach you all, but I just want to remind that that's a high priority for our community. And I'm glad to see that these results are what they are, for our dual immersion learners. And of course, we have, room to grow in these other areas.
Thank you. Are there any other questions about the Equity Spotlight data? All right, it is a pleasure to welcome to the lectern Mr. Armando Uribe, the Director of Special Education.
Good evening, board. Today, I would like to share with you some of the initiatives that we're taking into action in order to respond to these performance gaps. But I'd like to start off by saying, in the spirit of our belief that all people belong, have a voice, and can contribute, we have listened to the voices of our staff through the baseline study and have put into place the following measures to improve our inclusive practices and supports of providing more inclusive settings and supporting student learning outcomes. One thing that we've done this year is we've increased our capacity to support our students and staff by adding 4 additional district support staff to provide professional development for both staff and paraeducators alike. This will be focused on providing more inclusive accommodations and supports for students with more moderate needs in the general education setting. We also added 2 board certified behavior analysts, or BCBAs, commonly known more as behavior specialists, to support these behaviors that are arising right in the classrooms with our students. We've also highly recommended for our site leaders to consider collaboratively grouping students with special needs in order to provide more strategic supports throughout the school day. With that, we've also included an AAC framework, and we've developed this framework. AAC stands for Augmentative Assistive Communication, to provide more voice to our students who have historically been voiceless, right? What this framework is doing is creating and establishing informal assessment measures in order for us to provide more universal supports for communication for our students with special needs. So providing them devices to be able to give them the voice that they haven't had. So already this year, last year, we've provided 95 students a device that's matched to their ability to be able to communicate more in their classroom setting through the use of an app called Touch Chat. And we are currently in the process of identifying additional students with this need, and we're seeing that there is a need for more devices to be put in the hands of our students. So we'll be looking into that this year as well. Let me go to the next page here. Another thing that we're working very diligently on is providing universal design for learning supports for our staff by streamlining our UDL PD within our district PL plan. And so we've worked closely with our other colleagues in TNL to really design our PD district-wide this school year to provide staff the tools that they need to feel equipped to support our student with disabilities in the general education setting. Understanding that UDL is not necessarily a special education framework. It is a framework that supports all learners, right? So we're really encouraging, supporting all our diverse learners, including our students who are learning English as a second language. Through this PD, we're providing staff with the lens to be able to create and design lessons that will provide access points for our students in their learning. And so we've partnered with West Ed to include this UDL lens within the PLC work that the staff are going to be engaging in this school year. You'll see the picture there. That was our initial training with our staff and earlier in this year, in August, in promoting that UDL lens within the PLC framework. We also have provided additional staffing improvements. This school year, we've hired 12 additional education specialists in order to reduce the average caseload for the beginning of the school year. So we were able to keep the average at around 15 students per ed specialist. And what this has allowed for is increased facilitation and collaboration for teachers who collaborate with their general education peers to be able to look into student goals and talk about how they can modify and support our students within the classroom. And I believe I shared with you a wonderful email that was sent to us from one of the ed specialists, thanking us for this improvement and how it's allowed that facilitation for collaboration. So we're really excited to be able to do that for our staff and our families, with students with disabilities. Any questions?
Yeah, just briefly, on that, with the AAC personnel and the devices, do those devices then, and the use of them and then interpretation or what have you, do those require additional staff, or how is, I mean, because I know depending on the severity or the intensity or involvement of the device, it might require an additional adult.
Yes, so we added the AAC specialist position this school year. They used to be one of our DST service providers, but she specializes in assistive technology. And so she's the one that goes out and trains both staff and students on the devices. So with the informal assessments, what we're doing is we're providing different devices for students from low tech to high tech to match the device with the student's needs. So if it is a high-tech tool, then they're in there coaching both the staff and the students and training them on them. And we're also working on providing parent nights this school year to also teach the parents so that it goes, goes both ways from home to school.
Okay. And then the 12 additional staff that you discussed, are those our employees or are they from a contracted vendor?
Some of them are from us, but some of them are as well from the contracted vendor.
And we flew all those positions and
Exactly.
only got so many
Yes,
qualified people. Okay.
that's correct.
Because that's one of the things that we're consistently hear every meeting, right?
Yes, yes. And we're hopeful with the pipeline program that we do have, I believe, 8 candidates that are district candidates that will hopefully be able to slip into those positions hopefully next year. So
Awesome.
it should be a great.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Uribe. All right, so we know from previous presentations that one of the questions the board consistently asks is like, what do you do with this data? What do sites do with this data? And so we wanted to bring to you tonight some voices from this school year with regard to how the data is used, specifically CASP and LPAC data that I've presented tonight, but all of the data sources, including NWEA, iReady, mid-school math, all the sources of data that we have. So for instance, JPO uses NWEA Lexiles and LPAC scores from this exam to target instruction for all students. And one of their coaches notes that having common assessments throughout the school is very helpful to best help our students. At Battles, the coach has been working with a 5th grade teacher who is having goal conversations with all of her students this year. They created this easy to read goal sheet for each student to place in the front of their binder. And the students are then aware of their LPAC goal as well as their NWEA goal and iReady goal. On the flip side of that sheet, they came up with a list of strategies that students can use to help them achieve their goals. So this is an example of a blank document for you to look at. And it's really impressive to me to note that this teacher is personally meeting one-on-one with every student in her class to set these goals and then track the results of those goals. At El Camino, they use LPAC results not only as a measure of growth, but also as a way to celebrate the incredible accomplishments of English learners. Each year, they host a reclassification celebration to recognize students who have achieved English proficiency. This celebration, the principal notes, serves as a powerful motivator. It not only honors the hard work of those being reclassified, but it also inspires our other English learners to see what is possible when they do their best on the LPAC. The celebration creates a sense of pride and belonging while also fostering buy-in from students who are still working toward reclassification. And it includes some really delicious tri-tip. Another school notes that alongside LPAC, they also analyze CASP results to identify the trends and areas of need. And this allows the staff to refine instruction, provide targeted supports, and ensure that English learners are progressing both linguistically and academically. Together, these data points help them to align their instructional practices, to celebrate student successes, and to maintain a culture of high expectation and encouragement. At Oakley School, the principal notes that they use LPAC results to develop goals around English development for the entire school and in individual grade levels. They have established a problem of practice around LPAC scores and are utilizing data and data system, the elevation system, to determine how they will address the problem. They have established strategies for meeting their goals, specifically emphasizing student discourse and oral language. And they are embarking on a return to walk to learn modeling, specifically during designated ELD in the upper grades, where their data demonstrated a particular area of need. And then again, Dr. Salcido mentioned the celebrations that students had around their math scores. And so we wanted to bring the joy of student celebrations from those as well. I plan to bring to you regional and state comparisons, but currently the county and state data is embargoed for final review by the state, and it cannot be shared at this time. So I will provide an update when it is available. I want to close this evening by refocusing on the work that the district is doing, starting with our things to celebrate. So 68% in ELA and 63% in math of our students improved at least one scale score over the year before. 3 schools outperformed SMBSD and ELA with a growth at or above 80%. And those were Battles, Bonita, Bill Libin, and Liberty. And I cannot be proficient in math because I can't count. That would be 4 schools. Sorry. And the next one is not 3 schools either. So boy, I am killing it out here. Many schools outperform SMBSD in math with growth at or above 70%. And those include Arianis Elementary, Bonita, Fairlawn, Bill Libin, Oakley, and Sanchez. In ELA, the percentage of students meeting proficiency or achievement in each grade increases steadily from grades 3 through 7. So that's something to really celebrate, that our kids are moving along the trajectory in each of those grades. And in science, which we didn't talk too much about tonight, it's only tested in 2 grades, but 100%, every single student in SMBSD in 8th grade who took the science test achieved an improved overall scale score from when they were in 5th grade. And as we have discussed tonight, DLI students are significantly outperforming all SMBSD students in ELA math and science. Of course, there are celebrations, but there are also challenges. Flat or stagnant growth indicates a continued need for focused efforts to align curriculum to ensure that all students have access to the high-quality, responsive education that they deserve. This is annual data, and that does not fully support collaboration. Until we have aligned common assessments used in PLC as the engine for ongoing collaboration and improvement, we cannot ensure alignment of Tier 1 practices in ELA and math. And systemic pervasive inequities continue for our most vulnerable populations, including, as discussed this evening, students with disabilities and English language learners. As we discussed tonight, all of our service areas, from HR to M&O to Ed Services, are focused on the district mission. We strive to bring SMBSD to success as the unifying force that cultivates and enriches our diverse community to ensure that every student flourishes by discovering their passion and purpose, exercising self-determination, and developing the skills to reach their maximum potential. Data such as that presented tonight informs these efforts, but it does not define them, nor is it the center of our work. The work is to center on the whole child approach, to provide an inclusive environment, and to foster community and family engagement, all while supporting transformational innovation and a highly effective staff. We continue our mission by doing all the things discussed tonight and many others not mentioned tonight as well. The mission is our overall purpose, and to be successful, we must have coherence in the system. So the next steps discussed tonight are in service to our mission. We strongly believe that what we do with these results will result in smaller gaps for our students, and that will continue to be our focus. We leave you tonight with 3 big takeaways. Number 1, growth is happening. It's slow and it takes time, but it is happening. Number 2, gaps remain, and we are not blind to that, and we focus our work on those gaps every day. And number 3, strategic actions are underway. We leave you tonight with assurances that strategic actions are underway, and we look forward to bringing updates to you as they become available.
When will we be receiving the data that's currently embargoed?
So the state, the Department of Education and Assessment and Accountability embargoes the data with a preview for districts and LEAs to verify that the data is what they expected to see and that there are no errors. That process can take anywhere from a week to a month. And so it's up to the state to let us know when the data is disembargoed.
Excellent. And will we be presented with that data at the board level as well?
We'll take a look at the data and then I'll bring it to President Cordero, whether it's a update through the board report or we present it again mid-year, not mid-year, end of the year for the board. We can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You mentioned very briefly science. I like science. Can we get the science results maybe in our board report when you get those? I know when I was looking online, it said something about CAST is included in CASP.
Mm-hmm. So your in your Friday memo last week, your executive summary for CASP includes ELA math and science data for the district and by site.
Oh, okay.
I'd be happy to float that in your inbox if you'd like, but it is there. It's buried. It's a long document, but it is there.
Not a problem. I wasn't able to go very in depth. I was elsewhere.
I understand.
And then the slides are gone.
Yay.
Yeah, yay. So when we talk about tier one practices, again, I know that the focus of what we're talking about tonight is ELA and math, but I want to really encourage everybody to think about tier one practices everywhere. We talked about what do tier one practices look like in VAPA with their last presentation. So I want to talk about or having that mindset around whatever it is we're doing. And also when I saw that the gaps, this particular slide, gaps remain. I know it may not sound as important as some of the other things that we discussed this evening, but if you'll recall, I did bring attention to a longitudinal study done with students quite some time ago, and a large aggregation of students where experiential learning was a big part of what closed their gap. So not just curriculum, not just tier one practices, but again, start to think about just creative ways of exposing our learners to other things, to engender curiosity, to promote or excite them about something that then perhaps sparks them to do the things that make these tests scores happen, but also closes that gap. And Mr. Lozano said it tonight, right? He said it really eloquently and beautifully, and he says it all the time. Yeah, he's gratified that his kids went to college, but the bigger thing and the whole child part is that these are wonderful community members that were moving forward. So I think there's that aspect of it too. So thank you for the data. That's just the kind of little tidbit that I wanted to encourage.
Thank you. And I would just respond to your 2 points. In terms of all disciplines, I want to assure you that all of our disciplines are participating in the Bright Futures project work. So it's not just ELA and math teachers, that multilingual lens, that UDL focus, and that attention to standards, whatever domain or discipline they teach in, as well as the depth of knowledge of the questions and the question types or STEMs is really the work of the entire district. So everyone is participating in that, from PE specialists to VAPA specialists to classroom teachers and all of the department teachers at the junior high. So we are really trying to live that mission. And then in terms of experiential learning, we absolutely whole child focus is for us. Specifically from my lens and my service area, we're really leaning into experiential learning in our expanded learning programs, our after school programs, and our summer programs, and we'll continue to do that and support teachers in their classrooms as well. So thank you for those notes.
I appreciate how we're not shying away from our data. I appreciate the addressing how this is an equity issue. If this were your own child, this is my message to all of our staff, then we would want to see growth happening at an accelerated rate and these gaps to not remain, but to obviously be eliminated, right? So I want to just own this data as a board member, right? We, as a board and superintendent, were recently recognized for some of the work we're doing, but I definitely will not, rest until we continue to address these gaps. And so I just want to get us all to collectively own this data from every single level of our staff, so that collectively we can come together to create these changes that we all want to see for our kids. So let's not, I appreciate how we're leaning in to this discomfort, where none of us are content with these results, and I'm excited to do better. And I know we can, and I know we are in that process. So I want to thank all of our staff for not giving up on this challenge.
Thank you for those thoughts. And thank you to my co-presenters.
And I will acknowledge receipt of the presentation. Thank you, Mrs. Grock. Item 13, new business. New business. Board superintendent reports.
I just wanted to commend our staff, because as I was looking through our weekly updates, I noticed that there was school performance related to Martin Luther King Day, and there was a performance related to Women's History Month. I was recently at a training at the Chumash Cultural Center, which just recently opened up within the last couple of weeks. If you haven't had the chance to visit the space, I highly encourage you to do so. I'm currently trying to figure out how to get our school access. I believe our superintendents might have visited the site, or some of our staff might have visited the Chumash Cultural Center, but it's it's like a VIP club, because it's like a long waiting list of classes that are already trying to attend. So I'm trying to figure out ways that we can get our students to be there as well. But the point that I wanted to make is that at that training, the indigenous leaders of that community reminded us that they're not just indigenous during Indigenous Peoples Month, they're indigenous all year. And so I just want to commend our staff for, putting these wonderful cultural programmings together, and that we encourage our staff to do it throughout the year. I want to commend some of our staff for hosting the Hispanic Heritage Month event that just took place on the Santa Maria campus. I believe Ms. Miramontes was one of the folks there. These are just people in the room. Ms. Dr. Castillo Schiffer. I saw Mr. Segura there as well, and your teams. I just want to thank you all for doing that. I know it's really tough right now, because many of our families are scared to be out in the community, to go shopping, to go to school, to attend events. And so I want to thank you, because we're still reminding our community that we're here to support them, right? And that we're not going to give up on them as a support system. So thank you to all the staff that are involved. Forgive me, I don't know all the names of everybody that was involved with that project. And then in closing, I wanted to thank our Multilingual Services Department, because they recently hosted Cal Poly students to the El Camino campus. And I did see pictures about that event. I happen to know one of the professors, Dr. Ojeda, who's done work at Santa Maria High School before, and now is a professor at Cal Poly. So I think linking this to our AVID programs, our long-term English language learner programs, linking cultural relevance to the work. I think some of those students might have even presented something at the Hispanic Heritage event, if I'm not mistaken. So I really love the coming together of all these wonderful things, and how culture supports the academic outcomes of our students. So we know when our young people have high self-esteem of who they are, they do better academically. So I want to thank our staff for those wonderful efforts. And that concludes my board comments.
Talk about the conference, please.
Good evening. So this about 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, I attended along with Dr. McDuffie, Ms. Maju Lakchimbo, and Mr. Valencia, the California Latino School Board Association that was held in San Diego with theme for unity. We were recipients of the 2025 LEAD Award in commemorating or for the work that we've done with our strategic plan, and now the implementation of our Better Futures project, Bright Futures project. And so that was nice. Congratulations. And thank you for your leadership, Dr. McDuffie, Calvin, and staff for taking on this new project and moving along and being so cooperative with it, and helping our to bring our students some of the the results that we saw that we hope to see in the future. Among the topics that I went into or that were presented, there was immigration information, of course. Some of the stuff that in those sessions that I found very interesting was that along with immigration lawyers, they had family trust lawyers. So for people that have their businesses or have homes, how to make sure that those continue to stay safe and within the families. I did attend the Asian American Literacy Magazine project put on by UCLA. It's currently in a beta testing, but will be available hopefully at the end of the year for teachers, not only in social sciences and ethnic studies, but it's a great resource and tool for teachers in other subjects, such as English. And then also there was a Spanish for Spanish speakers session that I attended, and it was very interesting. And I talked to Mrs. Lakshan about it afterwards, and the type of books that we use for our Spanish classes, and she assured that those were for Spanish language, originating from Spanish language. So that's good. Other than that, last Friday I did also attend the Hispanic Heritage Celebration at Santa Maria High School, and it was a good event, well attended. There was music, but all the people that were there had a great time. There was a lot of people, the kids were playing and doing all those projects and the music and people dancing towards the end. It was a lot of fun. And that's all I have.
Thank you. After our last board meeting, there was a board policy review committee where we didn't look at the two that we had discussed the night before, but we did review some other policies that will be coming to the board in the near future. It's always interesting to see in writing what some of the new laws are requiring of us. I've made it to one girls and boys volleyball game between El Camino and Fessler, which those are always fun, and hope to get to a couple of more and see that our flag football teams have started up. I thought about going before tonight, but quite honestly, it was so hot and humid, I bailed. The humidity I could not live where it was humid like that all the time. I've also been at both Fessler and El Camino for some of their PLC work, which has been extremely interesting to see the engagement of the staff and the expertise of the presenters and the purposefulness, and am feeling very hopeful that this will be one of the strategies that will become ingrained in our practices, so that we are routinely doing a lot of the things that have been discussed this evening. So it is encouraging to see that happening and to really get a bird's eye view of what some of those discussions are. The cultural event was very nice last Friday evening. There was actually a hint of coolness in the air, but it was very pleasant. And just as a reminder, in case you all didn't get the invitation, El Camino is having a barbecue fundraiser tomorrow, tri-tip sandwiches. And tomorrow night is Baca Youth Night at Boys and Girls Club, and I know they are always anxious for more volunteers.
Thank you, President Cordero, board members. Just wanted to present and show you that we did receive the lead award, and I will be probably placing it somewhere here in the boardroom for people to be able to see, and I will pass it around so you can see it as well. It's the California Latino School Board Association presents Latino Education Advancement and Distinction. So I'll pass that around. President Cordero, when you have finished writing there. It was a great experience being there at the CLSBA, or California Latino School Boards Association's Unity Conference. I want to thank Assistant Superintendent Maiju Lo Chung Vu, board members Ricardo Valencia and Luz Maria Cabral for joining me there. We had a really wonderful time, and we actually presented a workshop to the larger community, educational community, and the workshop titled "Paving the Way to Bright Futures and Real Learning in Santa Maria Bonita." It was well attended, and we were able to speak to a wider audience, like I said, about the incredible progress and shared vision that we have here at our district. It's clear from these expectations that our efforts are being noticed and celebrated, and we ought to be proud of that and celebrate that fact. Last Friday was a pleasure to welcome the county superintendent, Dr. Salcido, to a couple of our schools, along with a couple of the County of Education board members. One was a previous board member here. It's Vida Marie Flores. And we toured Sanchez Elementary and Tommy Kuntz. If you have Instagram, you would have seen a nice video of our tour of those campuses. And we were able to really go around with the principals and showcase the incredible work our teachers are doing in math, science, language arts, highlighting great things happening in our schools. Later the same evening, Celebration Culture, Santa Maria High. I was there only for a short time, but it really was an evening of great music and valuable resources to our families. And it's a true testament to our vibrant school community. Finally, tonight's scores here that were presented validate, I think, what we already know about the needs of our most vulnerable students for years. While these CASP and LPAC results are one metric, they're not the sole measure of our students' potential or our district's success in the fulfillment of our mission. And I want to remind everyone that this year we begin a new chapter with our Bright Futures project, with one of the strategic plan strategies focused on nurturing the whole child. Bright Futures helps bring coherence to what we believe our bigger mission is, which is having students develop the skills to reach their maximum potential. This initiative is designed to build a unified system, a different system where we're not just working hard for our students, but also working together across the entire district, in every classroom, at every grade level, in every school. As a rowing team, if you think about it, we can all work hard and row fast, but if we're not rowing in sync, we won't get very far. And so we want to ensure we're moving together at the same pace so our students, again, can be the very best that they can be by reaching their full potential. So with that, I wish everyone a wonderful evening, and that's all my comments.
Unless there are other comments, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? The next school board meeting is in 2 weeks, Wednesday, October 8th, as it is on our calendar.